You're listening to the station that's been nominated for 11... Wait, that doesn't sound right. This is the station that's been nominated for 12 awards from the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System.
FM,
HD,
Amazon Echo,
Google Home,
the TuneIn Radio app,
the iHeartRadio app,
and nccradio.org.
This is 90.3 WHPC.
WHPC HD,
Garden City,
Long Island,
New York. .3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. How you doing on this Monday, the 25th of February 2019? George Harrison would have been 76 years old today if he had lived. And if you're out there driving a truck, it is slightly windy out there. I hope your truck doesn't blow over. Make sure there's stuff in the truck. We were coming here, and there was a truck driver who could not park right. We were waiting 5 minutes on some back road in Garden City. Finally, he figured it out. Of course, joining me on this wonderful show we call From the Press Box is my brother and award-winning sports writer, Tim Leonard. Timothy, how are you?
I'm very good, brother. And happy birthday to Mike Peters.
Same day as George Harrison?
No, it was a couple days ago.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
But as long as we're wishing people happy birthday. I feel like Phil Rizzuto all of a sudden.
If we only had cannolis.
Well, that would be a perfect day.
Anyway, brother, what do you want to start with today? What's the big story, you think?
Well,
I mean, is Robert Kraft the big story? How big of a story is this going to be? The owner of the Super Bowl winning, NFL leading New England Patriots, and he was accused, or whatever he is part of, a possible prostitution ring.
A warrant is out for his arrest, brother.
Yes. And they're saying that he's not the biggest person involved either.
Yes.
That's the part that gets me, that he is not the biggest.
Well, not only that, but why wouldn't they name that name?
That's right. That's true, Unidentified person number one or whatever.
So, yeah, but the worst part about what's going on with Robert Kraft, let's face it, rich and powerful men, he wouldn't be the first one to solicit the services of a prostitute.
Right.
We in New York are very well aware of our various government officials who have done these things.
Number 9.
But the problem, the main problem with or what makes this situation worse is the human trafficking ring that was involved through this Florida massage parlor. If I can say that it's a kind of a brief moment of levity, people are actually going to this massage parlor now, which is down in Central Florida, and taking pictures in front of it because they are Patriots haters. I saw an article in the New York Post as I was coming in for the show today. And it's just a sick and twisted world that we live in. But these people were talking about, I wanted to come here and I wanted to get a picture in front of the place where Robert Kraft supposedly. I mean, and from what has been said, Kraft denies the allegations. Of course, what do you expect them to do? But the local law enforcement say they have video evidence, and they said he was there twice. So I think I think Kraft has got to figure out a way to get around this and to extract himself from this. But there's obviously going to be an issue for him in the future that will need to be dealt with. Right. So we'll see what happens, and it's not a good situation. Obviously, the human trafficking aspect of it, we're talking, this is not consensual. This is
trafficking's different than
right. I mean, if you think about the various women who had sex with, say, Elliot Spitzer or Anthony Weiner, those women were in it for the money and in it for their own gain. The women that Kraft is accused of being with, it's just the opposite. They didn't want to be there, and they were being forced against their will to be there. So that is the really disturbing aspect. It's sort of
like an episode of Law and Order SVU.
In a lot of ways,
where they find people, locked in a room or something, and they can't get out, and meanwhile they're servicing rich and powerful men. So it is interesting. It's the NFL, which can't seem to find a break with bad news and people doing bad things. But if they're doing bad things, what's going to happen? It's one thing to to kick out a player or something or suspend a player. How do you suspend an owner? I mean, he owns it.
Well, I mean, if he's not involved in the day-to-day operation, I mean, how do you suspend an owner? George Steinbrenner was suspended.
Yeah, but that's different. He deserved it.
Well, but so does Robert Kraft. If these allegations,
I'm not saying Robert Kraft doesn't.
If these allegations are found to be true, and I mean, nobody is accusing him of participating in the trafficking, but if he was going to this massage parlor and participating in illegal acts, then there needs to be some sort of a sanction, and what that is, obviously the league would need to determine. But I mean, we're talking about the exploitation of women, and that I mean, let's face it. You go to a massage parlor, and that's some of what happens in places like that. I don't know firsthand, but that's what I've read. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you're a good reader. So,
but to just give you kind of some background on this as well. This wasn't just a local law enforcement kind of situation. This was Homeland Security, the IRS, the Jupiter Police Department. The massage parlor was in a Florida town called Jupiter, and the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office and others were involved. This was a very large sting operation. The investigation took about 8 months. And officials are saying that they have identified more than 100 men who were suspected of, again, participating in illegal activities.
Right.
Now, I'm, again, like what you said, I'm very curious to hear who these bigger names or the bigger name, if it's only one. Robert Kraft is worth $6 billion.
Right.
He is the owner of the most well-known football franchise in this country. And yes, I am including the Dallas Cowboys as well. But my question is, who else do we know that goes to Florida on a regular basis, brother?
I don't know.
President Trump has weighed in on the Kraft situation.
Well, he does go to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't identifying him as a problem. Next sentence, bro.
Okay,
Next sentence. But he has weighed in on this situation because he and Kraft are buddies. Telling reporters in the Oval Office, he actually spoke with them, which is shocking enough, that he was, quote, surprised to learn about Kraft's prostitution charges. But he stressed the Patriots owner had denied doing anything illegal.
That means he's
innocent.
innocent.
That's all he needs for Donald Trump.
That's all you need.
All he needed. He denied it.
Putin told him the same thing. Hey, we had nothing to do with the election.
I tried the I denied I did anything illegal when I got the ticket for the speeding camera in Nassau County a couple months ago.
I saw that.
It didn't wash. I don't know what happened. Maybe I should have sent my denial to Trump instead.
Maybe. By the way, did we talk about Colin Kaepernick a couple of weeks ago? What happened with him?
No, we didn't, brother.
We should just quickly talk about because it's.
As long as we're on the NFL,
we're on the NFL. For those who don't know, the NFL surprisingly settled a lawsuit kind of fast. And from what we know, though there wasn't anything released from what's been whispered, Colin Kaepernick is not going to be a poor person.
Well, he wasn't a poor person anyway.
No, but you know what I mean. He got paid a lot of money probably to walk away. Whether he can ever talk about this, whether he'll ever be in the NFL again, I don't know. He should be.
Both are probably no's.
He should be.
He should be in the NFL, but it's highly unlikely he'll ever be able to talk about his situation.
Well, yeah,
which is sad. And I personally, I think that the amount that was settled for, I think has probably been exaggerated.
Well,
there are people throwing around numbers like 50 million and 60 million. I don't think there's any chance that the NFL would have just handed him that much money.
I don't either.
I'm sure Kaepernick got a nice piece of change from the Nike campaign that they did.
No, but that's not part of how you.
I'm just talking about Kaepernick's personal wealth. I'm not
right.
talking about anything else. But but basically, like I said, what I'm saying is that he's not hurting for money. He made $19 million a year in the last couple of years of his contract with the San Francisco 49ers. Now, that being said, he has certainly donated millions of dollars to various charities and has encouraged other NFL players to do the same. But for all these people who rip on Kaepernick, I challenge you to do the tiniest fraction of what this guy has done for charitable causes all over the country. This guy, you might not like him, you might not agree with his politics, you might be completely wrong as far as why he kneels, but Colin Kaepernick is a great American.
Well, my like I said, I had a problem with the fact, not that he did it, I just think that the NFL is the wrong place to do anything, and the fact that he did it during when the TV cameras aren't doing anything, they don't show the national anthem. I understand why he did it, and there's very good reason. There's very specific reasons. He wasn't making fun of the troops or
no, not at all,
doing anything bad towards the troops or anything. I just thought that it turned into something that it shouldn't have turned into. That's all, and that's my problem with it.
Well, then you have to ask yourself why.
No, I told you why, because I think what he did. I think if he wants to make a statement about certain things, which is why he did it, he should have just done it instead. The kneel, I know why he did it, because someone said this is the way you respect the troops. Blah, blah, blah.
A soldier, a veteran told him to kneel.
And my problem is the NFL is the wrong place to do it. It's not like
I disagree.
Well, no one saw it. Who would have seen it unless someone reported it? But no one. It wasn't seen on television. So the only people seeing are the people in the stadium. Who cares?
That's 80,000 people.
Yeah, but no one pays attention during the national anthem. You know that.
Sure they do.
No,
either if they're in their seats, they're at least looking around.
If they're there, they're saying, "Okay, I get one more beer before kickoff."
Then fine. And that's them. Then
there's a reason why it's not the national anthem. It's not shown on the television.
Somehow a reporter noticed. Hey, Colin Kaepernick isn't standing for the national anthem, and asked them about it after a game.
Right.
And that's what started this.
I don't know.
An eagle-eyed journalist.
I'm sure it was an eagle-eyed journalist.
Started it.
Right.
And said to him, why didn't you stand?
Didn't. That's until afterwards, and then all of a sudden.
Protests have to start somewhere, and that's where that one started.
I disagree with it. I don't disagree with what he was protesting in the sense of that. I do disagree with the way how he did it.
Well, where else do you expect him to protest?
I don't expect him to protest. There are other ways of doing things.
Like what?
I don't know.
Like that's always the response.
Well, I don't have an answer in front of me.
Well, you should. If you're going to tell him don't protest where you're doing it. First of all, here's my issue.
Maybe you go into the neighborhoods where there's police brutality or police problems, and then you do something.
That's not the problem.
Well, I'm saying. Wasn't
the issue is to expose other people to the issue,
right? And where else? If you go into a neighborhood that has problems,
those neighborhoods know the problem exists.
Yeah, but the media,
that's where they happen.
If the media follows you in, which they're going to,
no, they're not.
They're going to at least do it a couple of times. He lost his career for this. I'm not sure if.
Well, hey, that's called having principles.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Purity.
Well, you're making kind of a ridiculous argument here.
I'm not.
You're saying that he shouldn't be protesting in an NFL game, but then you don't have another place for him to protest. So where else is he going to go where he's going to get this kind of attention?
I just gave you one. You go into the neighborhoods where the problems are. That's what you do.
Absolutely,
that's not ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
It isn't.
It is ridiculous. The people, like I said, those people in the neighborhoods know the problem exists. You don't have to go into those neighborhoods to tell them the problem exists. They already know.
There are other people who do
those
similar
are the people
things.
who are getting killed.
There are other people who know this too, Timmy, and that's the only thing I'm saying.
Really, I disagree.
The NFL's the wrong.
You got to
league
think
for
this
anything.
through.
I did. I just did.
No, you just did. Yeah, in 10 seconds, I thought it through.
I did. That's the way I do.
Incorrect.
That's not true. So anyway, he got paid off to shut his mouth. Now he can't do it again.
And Eric Reed also, a defensive back. He was
he was
another
part
one.
of-
Yeah, he was also part of the lawsuit.
Okay.
By the way, brother, Robert Jean Tet. Is that one of your friends? I don't know. He's
Rob Jante.
Jean Tet. Sorry, my bad. I didn't know he was French. Says on the Facebook Live, there is a list of men caught in the sting. I will look if I find it. Great job. Thank you, Rob. Jante.
Jante.
See? Correct pronunciation. I learned quickly. But, like I said.
We should have him come in and videotape us.
With Kaepernick, I can't say I have a problem with him protesting. The reason that this all took on a life of its own, besides the fact that some journalist was doing his job, was we all know why.
I know.
Because Trump. Because
I know
Trump's got a big mouth and he doesn't do any research, and he spewed a bunch of absolutely misinformation and fact-free garbage.
I know.
It didn't take much to do a Google search. It take 20 seconds to see, hey, this is why Kaepernick's doing it, and this is who told him to do it.
I agree.
How much? I mean, how can people be that allergic to facts?
And then people wanted to ban the NFL. Oh, I'm going to watch the Golden Girls instead.
Right, of course.
And, no one did that. I know so many people who said, well, I'm not going to watch the NFL now because of Colin Kaepernick. And then they would say, well, the ratings are down. And the ratings actually didn't go down.
Well, no, the ratings have gone down somewhat.
But it's not.
But you know why they're going down?
There's too many games on TV.
No, because of Red Zone. Do you know what Red Zone is?
Yes, I know, but not everyone has Red Zone.
Enough people have it that it'll affect the ratings.
No, it doesn't. That's not true.
That is true.
That is not true.
It is true.
That's not true.
It's 100% true.
The reason is because there are a lot of bad games on Monday night 2 years ago. That's why.
There were a lot of bad games on Monday night this year, too.
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem. So, if you have a bad game, no one's watching it. It's not Red Zone.
Or they're turning it off.
They're not watching Red Zone. The only people who watch Red Zone are gamblers.
Yeah, what do you think football exists for?
Yeah, but they're not every person gambles. You gamble on football? I don't.
And fantasy teams.
That's different.
That's fantasy football is the biggest fantasy sport in the country.
I agree with that. It's bigger than baseball. Well, I'd say baseball is.
No.
It's not?
I'm telling you.
Okay.
Please don't argue with me on this.
Okay. I'm not. I'm just saying. But not everyone watches football as a gambler. I'm not. I'm not in any fantasy. I have a life.
How often do you watch football?
I watch football a lot. I do. When I'm home, I watch it.
When you're home, exactly.
Well, I'm busy. I'm doing other things.
I'm telling you, the Red Zone has had an impact on.
But not
ratings.
everyone has Red Zone.
I'm not saying they do, but we're talking a couple of tenths of a percentage point here. We're not talking like a massive hit in ratings.
No, actually, it was a big drop on some of them. I mean, it's still football is still the best investment for television networks.
Of course,
network's going to say tomorrow, well, our ratings went down a little bit. We're just going to give up on football. No. They're lining up.
They want every network out there wants football,
right?
In some way, shape,
or form. And the NFL has found a way to almost serve everyone.
Exactly. That's why we have Thursday night football and those bad games on Thursday night.
Well, there's another problem. Thursday night football is a lot of bad games.
They've spread it. That's a big part of the problem for the NFL is that they have spread it around too much, and that's a problem. People don't want to watch football 4 days a week.
They think they do. They think it's
I think the ratings have proven that that's not the case. They don't want Thursday night football and then it's Sunday and Monday and later in the season I think they had a couple of Saturday games or whatever. People don't want that much football. They want to be able to watch football on Sunday and Monday night. They don't want Thursday football.
Well, the problem is, and this is something to think about, one of the reasons they're spreading it out like this is the cost per game. If you have every game, it used to be all the games were on Sunday, 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and then there'd be a Monday night game. Then they came up with the Sunday night game, which is actually a good thing. The problem is if you watch the 2 games and then you wait for the third one, you might be footballed out, and that's why Monday night football has had a problem. Plus, Monday night football.
People have lives. You can watch 2 games, and now you're committing 7 hours to watching football. But now you got to commit another 3.5.
But based on per game, if you're showing 4 games, the regional deal. If you're showing that as a regional thing, it doesn't matter. Cincinnati wants to watch the Cincinnati game. The problem is that when you're paying this much money, it's easier to cover 1 game at a time.
Of course.
So, and they're trying to make money on it. You don't make a ton of money. The only time you make money on the NFL is really the Super Bowl. they make some money, but it's not.
They make massive money. They make money on the other stuff too, but they make massive money on the Super Bowl because probably close to half the households in the United States are watching the game.
They still
and
do
it's a worldwide audience.
It's but the worldwide audience doesn't affect the
ratings,
local network.
Yeah.
So
that doesn't.
So, but that's
my friend watching in Ireland.
That's why they came up with the Sunday, and that's why they came up with the Thursday. They can't come up with the Friday or Saturday because of college and high school, and I think they vowed not to interfere with them.
And they shouldn't, because those are the people who were. It's like it's like baseball. Should have more day games because you want to generate your next generation,
right?
And that's high school and college.
But the problem with that is that games now in baseball become prime time games.
Right.
It's a TV show.
That's a mistake.
And the thing is, now every team owns their own networks basically, and the best money is made at night. That's the problem.
because they can charge more for advertising.
That's why.
But to me, baseball in the World Series especially should have at least one afternoon game, even if it's only one out of the 7. Make game 2 or 3 or whatever
they
an
should,
afternoon
but
game.
the problem with that is that you do it on the weekends and you have football all weekend, college or professional, and they don't want to go up against it. Though they have, but for them it's easier not. I mean, it's all about the money.
Make it during the week then, if that's what it takes. But you should have one game in the day game.
If the leagues want to take less money, they'd play more day games. That's all. Anyway, we're going to take a break right now. You're listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC, part of the WHPC Sports Talk family. We're here Mondays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then, of course, regular sports talk, 5 o'clock on Monday, 5 o'clock on Tuesday, then Thursday at 9 p.m. and Friday at 3 p.m. Tim, you're at Twitter at
Real Tim Leonard.
All hit music.
For all those songs radio has forgotten about, join me, Big Ed, Mondays from 10 a.m. till noon for The Good Gold Show. We'll bring back all the great hits of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and more. The sounds of doo-wop to disco, all the Motown, soul, and great rock and roll. We'll even take your requests and dedications to The Good Gold Show.
Music.
On the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, and streaming on the iHeartRadio app.
The new Retro Mix, powered by Taylor Swift breakup songs.
I'm sorry, excuse me?
Adele's Sad Love Life.
What?
And Kanye West's Weirdness.
What? No. Stop the promo. Stop it. Stop. What did you just say?
The new Retro Mix.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. What are you doing?
The Retro Mix promo.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Mix?
What do you... No!
Promo?
No, I mean...
The?
This is getting too silly.
Who was that?
I don't know!
All right, look, just give me the mic.
No.
Tyler, give me the mic, Tyler.
No.
Tyler, no! Give me the mic.
It's mine.
No, it's mine. Got it. Okay. Now let me show you what retro really is. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Retro Mix is back with your favorite mix from the 50s to the 80s, and it's better than ever. I'm Colton Murray, your host, bringing this to you Monday from noon to 2, and the beat goes on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Paralyzed veteran Sean Halstead.
I got hurt practicing combat search and rescue, fell off a fast rope, so shattered L1 vertebrae. I don't know where I'd be without Paralyzed Veterans. I've only seen that now.
Paralyzed Veterans of America is a nonprofit and it gets no federal funding. Paralyzed Veteran and PVA Executive Director Sherman Gillums Jr.
And we provide every service free of charge to every veteran and caregiver that we support.
To learn more, visit pva.org. A public service message from Paralyzed Veterans of America.
90.3 WHPC. Since it is George Harrison's birthday, and this is very appropriate for what's going on outside with the wind. Reduced. It's tough to cross a bridge today if you're driving.
No idea what this is.
You don't know this song? And when I play the alarm,
let's move on.
You're all happy and jump up and down.
Yeah, nobody knows what this song is.
This is George Harrison.
You know what this song is.
This was a hit.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
It was. Top 20 hit.
48 years ago.
That's a do is to to love you.
Sports show.
I'm just
Hello.
saying.
Sports show.
I'm just trying to annoy you.
Sports show, not on Beatles songs.
Hey, I know that. Hey,
sports show.
Just trying to annoy my brother.
Trying to get you back.
Anyway,
back where we need to be.
We're on Facebook Live also. We thank Phil Staros, Rob Jante, Mike Lefkowitz, and our lovely sister Suzanne is listening too.
Yes. Sports. Hello.
I know.
Hello, sports.
I'm just saying, man. Anyway, it was a big announcement yesterday on the Oscars. Samuel L. Jackson.
How about Sam?
Announced that the Knicks had won for the first time this year.
That was bigger news than almost anything that happened at the Oscars last night.
After 18, well, we shouldn't say this year, 18 consecutive home losses.
Yes.
The Knicks finally won.
And they beat the Spurs, which Spurs are a pretty good team. They're not what they used to be, but
and they also scored. The Knicks scored 130 points. And Spike was smiling because, of course, Spike is floor seats guy, and very much introduction to the
Spike is a super
to
fan.
many people is through Spike Lee. Maybe if you like basketball, you like the Knicks. Of course, but Spike did win. By the way, he won his first Oscar.
Congratulations to Spike
for of all things, best adopted screenplay.
Adapted. Let's get it right.
Thanks.
It's first Oscar. Let's get it right.
Which he split with 3 other people. So.
But Sam, my man Sam Jackson, he said, and I quote, he's looking at Spike. He says, "Good thing you're sitting down," because none of this was on the teleprompter. But he says, "Good thing you're sitting down." After 18 consecutive home losses, the Knicks won tonight.
Yep.
And then he said, "I repeat, the Knicks won tonight."
Yep.
And then he said, and he paused, and he said, "Defeating San Antonio 130-118."
Yeah, I know.
And then Spike had a big grin on his face.
Yeah, well,
yeah, we won.
So does this mean that Spike has to win another Oscar before the Knicks win?
Well, then apparently after Sam said that, then Spike yelled back at him. He says, "We're trying to tank."
Yeah, well, that's what you want them to do.
Doing a good job of that.
Well, they're doing well. By the way, there's been stories that Jimmy Dolan's going to be selling the Knicks because
no,
it's not happening. By the way, Jimmy says this all the time. Whenever he does an interview, he doesn't do a lot of interviews. Someone say, "Would you ever sell the Knicks or the Rangers?" And the answer has always been, if someone gives me the right deal, which means tremendously overpaying for the Knicks, who are worth $4 billion right now. Not sure what the Rangers are worth.
The Rangers are probably worth half of what the Knicks. The Rangers have to be probably one of the highest valued hockey teams, but besides
Rangers,
the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, old Rangers. Yeah,
just because of everything that comes along with it.
Sure.
I mean, that's a business that but with the TV channel and the arena, but. You couldn't sell the arena, or I guess you could. I guess he could do whatever he wants, really. But
that's one of the problems. That's one of the problems, and people don't realize this. And I do own stock in MSG as part of my 401k. One thing I will say, and I just know this from enough things I've read, and I get the stock the stock reports and stuff from them. It's all connected. And the MSG people years ago were the first ones kind of to do this. You start your own network, you have your teams on the network, and you have them play in the arena you own.
Right.
Once you start nitpicking it away, if let's say they did sell the Knicks, the person who would buy them would say, "Well, why would I stay at the Garden? I don't own it. You need to have your own arena," and you'd go and build your own arena.
Yeah, but then. See, that's the problem, that if Dolan sells the team and not the arena, that becomes the issue, because then he's keeping the Garden as a money-making venture, but if his goal is to gouge somebody on the Knicks for $4 billion, I mean, part of that valuation is the arena and the building and everything else.
I'm not sure if that's actually the way Forbes does it.
It is.
It should be.
It has to be, because at $4 billion, the Knicks are worth at least as much as the Yankees are.
Right.
And the Yankees are unquestionably the most famous sports team in the world.
Yeah, well.
Never mind the country.
We should say also that the MSG people sold the New York Liberty.
Yes.
Not many people know that because not many people follow Liberty, but they sold them to, I think, the guy who owns the Nets or something, or someone who's connected to the Nets. And I don't think they'll still play in Westchester next year. They'll be playing at the Westchester or something. It's a small 2,000-seat arena.
I thought it was a 5,000 seat, but it's
very
significantly
small.
less than Madison Square Garden.
So, that's not happening anymore. But, everyone says, oh, they're going to sell. They're not. It's all part of it. Now, the only thing that can affect the Garden, brother, and this is, so I'll just say this and we'll move on.
Yes, we'll get back to the Knicks.
The only thing that can really screw up the Knicks and the Garden and everything, the air rights over Penn Station,
right?
I think expire in 10 years or something. And they've been trying. There are purists out there who want to bring back Penn Station. The Penn Station of 1960,
glory days,
the glory days before it got knocked down, and they would have to kick the Knicks out. And the thing is, I don't know how they would renew the contract. If they didn't renew the contract, what they would do, wherever they place another Garden. That could do it.
Knicks would go up to Westchester.
No, yeah, sure. The problem is, though, and this is just something, is that if they had to knock down the Garden, you would literally have to take like a year to do it. You just couldn't blow it up.
Of course.
And then to rebuild it would take literally 10 years and billions of dollars.
It wouldn't take 10, but it would take probably 5.
A total.
Yeah.
Of building and knocking it down. It would,
It would take a long time.
It would take
obviously.
a long time. So that's the only way MSG could have a problem, is the not getting the air rights contract continued, so to speak, which is hard to believe that's the case. By the way, Joe Gorman has joined us on Facebook, and Glenn DeMilt has joined us on Facebook also. What do you want to talk about next, brother?
Well, I just wanted to point out with the Knicks, brother. Very, very solid team effort last night. Damian Dotson, 27 points. The Knicks had a bunch of guys in double figures.
Right.
I'll just go down the list. Kevin Knox had 19 points. What's his name? Mitchell Robinson had 15 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks. Emmanuel Mudiay, 19 points. Dennis Smith Jr. probably had his best game since the trade for Porzingis. 19 points, 13 assists, no turnovers.
That's
you like seeing that from your point guard. 19 points, 13 assists, and no turnovers. But and he was the guy who in the Knicks' previous game, Fizdale, the coach, benched him in the fourth quarter. So they had a little meeting. They had to sit down, and it was, Smith was kind of like, all right, look, dude, what do you want me to do? Like, this isn't working right now. And obviously you got a problem with me, and I got a problem with you because I don't like getting benched in the fourth quarter. But what do you need me to do? And
right.
Apparently he listens well, because 19 and 13 and no turnovers.
Is Fizdale going to be back next year?
Yes,
I know it's his first season.
Absolutely.
But this has been a real disappointing year for them.
No, it hasn't been. How has it been disappointing?
No, you don't lose 18 consecutive home games.
This is what the season is.
I know that, but you
Fizdale
don't lose 18.
is not being judged on wins and losses this season. This season was trust the process.
Everyone gets trusted
the process
on wins and losses. That's how it happens.
The only reason
what happens.
The only reason that Fizdale will get fired after the season is if he pisses off a player. Like he did in his last stop, and he got Marc Gasol mad at him, and the team was like, well, we're not getting rid of Marc Gasol, so coach, you're out. And that might have happened if Porzingis had stayed, but I think that Fizdale has the respect of the room, and especially now that Enes Kanter is gone as well, the two guys that had the biggest problems with the coach are no longer Knicks. He is a guy who, when he was hired with the future in mind, and it was. I think the attitude of Knicks management was, let's hire this guy, and he's going to be around for at least 3 or 4 years, and we'll get some stability with the young guys, and this guy is going to be their coach, and he is a respected coach in the NBA, and we can get some free agents because they'll want to play for this guy. Whereas there hasn't been a Knicks coach, I don't think, in the last 10 years that free agents would want to play for. Maybe Mike Woodson back in the day, but since him, who wanted to play for Jeff Hornacek? Nobody.
I don't know. He would seem like a good coach.
No. He's a good shooter. When he played, he's not a good coach. So, Fizdale is a guy who this team can grow with, and who let's face it, Fizdale needs to grow a little too. He claims he learned from the Gasol situation. He and Gasol have since smoothed out any differences they had, but it cost him his job. And as a young coach, you don't want to develop that reputation. You want to be known as a player's coach, and he has been known. His reputation is as a player's coach, except for that one episode. So that is what Fizdale is trying to overcome and to get past, and at the same time teach his players. And let's find out what's going to happen in the future for the Knicks. But this is a team they're still building in a youthful manner. Dennis Smith, he's 21. Knox, 19. These guys are kids. Even Moutier, he's a young guy. He's 23 or 24, I think. I don't even think he's that old. But he was a guy who was young. He came out. He was a first-round pick, and the Knicks, Knicks kind of made him a reclamation project. He's playing well. And they still have Neil Kina, who's hurt.
They're not winning,
But, yeah, I understand that.
They're getting beat up a lot, too.
I understand that.
My main problem.
Early in the season, they weren't getting beat up. Lately, there's been more bigger losses. But, again,
more beatings.
Again, look at what's going on with the Sixers now. The Knicks are going to take some lumps. But the process for the Knicks shouldn't take nearly as long as it has for the Sixers, because the Sixers had to go through like 3 or 4 years of really horrible losing to put together the core that they put together. And then they screwed it up anyway. I mean, they traded up to get Markelle Fultz, thinking he was going to be the point guard for the next 10 years, and then Markelle Fultz just all of a sudden decided or stop being able to shoot. So they traded him at the deadline. He's now with the Orlando Magic. They traded their number one and a future number one to get Fultz. So they traded 2 number ones to the Celtics, of course.
It's always the Celtics.
And the Celtics drafted Jason Tatum, who's a star, with the pick that they got from Philly. So that trade couldn't have worked out better for the Celtics.
It's funny because for years Red Auerbach would find a way to get the number 1 pick.
Oh, I hated him.
And then he left, or whatever he was. And what happens? They continue to get the number 1 picks many times.
Danny Ainge is stolen from teams. And the problem that I have with that is Danny Ainge isn't that smart. He's not. And teams are so dumb. The Nets, oh, man, the Nets just made one of the stupidest trades in NBA history when they gave away those 3 number ones for an aging Paul Pierce and an aging and beat up Kevin Garnett.
Yep.
It was just ridiculous. And I understood at the time they were going for it. They were going for the title, but that trade wasn't going to get it done for them.
No.
And not only they mortgaged their future, they mortgaged more than a decade. And I've said it on the show before. All the credit in the world to Sean Marks for putting the Nets back together. And the deals that he's made and the incremental.
What place are the Nets in right now? They're going to make the playoffs, I believe, right?
The Nets are they're in 4th place in the East, but they're 31-30. Think about the Nets. 2 years ago, they were 17-68 or something like that. I mean, they were awful.
Knicks 2 years ago.
They were close to being the Knicks 2 years ago. I mean, that's why the Celtics wound up with so many good draft picks. Is because the Nets were one of the worst teams in the league. So now the Nets are 31-30, which yes, in the East will get them into the playoffs. I mean, right now Charlotte is in 1st place in the Southeast. They're under 500. So yeah, the Nets will be getting into the playoffs. Right now, I think what is it? The Nets right now are a 6th seed in the East.
Okay.
So but the deals that Sean Marks has made and getting D'Angelo Russell, for example, what a great trade that was. And Karis LeVert was a great pick in the draft because he's a guy who he slipped down to the Nets because he had a foot issue around draft time, and the Nets were like, look, this guy is a star. He'd be a top 10 pick if he was healthy. So fine, let's take him at 19 or whatever number it was where they took him, and heal him up. And now we got a player.
Well, I would like to see what happens when the Nets make the playoffs and the Knicks, of course, don't make it again.
No, not even close.
If some fans jump over to the Nets, especially in Brooklyn, which is still a basketball hot. Turn to yourself, brother. Yeah, you're such a lazy guy.
The whole point is to do this silently, brother. So the people,
Okay,
like,
who cares?
Whatever.
Anyway, brother, I want to see if Brooklyn fans actually start supporting the Nets. They, they don't really sell out the way they should.
It's still a team and a community that is getting used to what's there, and everybody, I don't want to say everybody, most 90% of the people in Brooklyn are Knicks fans.
I know.
Or were Knicks fans. And they're getting used to saying, hey, we have our own team. And you know what? Our own team is actually pretty good. So let's support these guys. And right now the Knicks are trash, so why bother?
This is the time to do it. We're going to take a break right now. You're listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Give us a call, 516-572-7440 if you have a comment or question.
A Super Bowl champion, U.S. Congressman, publisher of Long Island Business News, award-winning authors, physical fitness life coach, and celebrities like Billy Crystal and Eddie Murphy. I had no idea so many awesome people got their start at Nassau Community College.
Well, they're always saying that NCC is where success stories begin. With people like that as graduates, it must be true.
Hello, I'm Dr. Linda Nadian.
And I'm Aurora Workman, the president of Nassau Community College Alumni Association.
Together, we're the hosts of Lion Tales, a show that highlights proud graduates of Nassau Community College. Join us each week when distinguished alumni stop by to share stories, laugh a little, and remind us what things were like when they were students at Nassau Community College.
My fabulous friend Linda and I will also share the latest alumni news and updates, so tune in Tuesdays at 4 p.m. to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, or listen online with the iHeartRadio app.
Okay. Go.
Tell your friends about the Nassau Morning Madhouse. Hear what you're missing.
Check it out.
Check it out.
We're talking about, someone's choice of a food item that they use to use it as a weapon. So, Florida man yesterday smashed his wife in the face, right?
Nicely.
With a Taco Bell burrito.
This man's a legend.
Causing some to go up into her nose. According to police, who arrested the suspect on a domestic battery charge.
He better have said something cool right before throwing it. Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Live mas.
Yeah, live mas.
Live mas.
Live no mas.
Nassau Morning Madhouse. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9. Yeah. On the voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC.
I played it again for you, brother. George Harrison, Blow Away.
Oh, boy.
It's a great song. You should maybe listen to the spiritual side of the lyrics.
Heard it before.
You know? Maybe you can gain some spirit, my brother. Anyway, the Islanders are still in first place by 2 points in the Metropolitan Division of the NHL. Today is the trading deadline.
Have the Washington Capitals.
Will the Islanders do something for the trading deadline?
They need to.
Lamoriello tends to make moves, so I won't be surprised if they do. I won't be surprised if they don't, though.
You know what I would like to see, and as much as I would have hated myself 3 years ago for saying this.
What?
Josh Hosang has to go.
Why?
Because he and the Islanders aren't working out. And there has to be a team out there that will look at Josh Hosang and say, we can do something with this guy. He's still got some talent, and we can turn him into something. And I think, I hope anyway, or I think that would be enough to get the Islanders a winger. They need somebody to pair with Barzal desperately.
I agree with that.
A power forward type who can A, protect Barzal, and B, bang pucks into the net. Because right now that it's not there. And as well as the Islanders are playing, and they really have transformed themselves in 1 year.
They have.
Under Barry Trotz, they need, if they're going to do anything in the playoffs, they need a guy who can take advantage of Barzal's playmaking ability and just start banging pucks into the net.
So what you're saying is they need another Clark Gillies.
Somebody like that.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean,
Someone
whoever it is,
shoot and also check and protect.
I'll take another Butch Goring. I mean, whatever works. But they need somebody of that ilk, who I mean, Barzal doesn't necessarily need to be protected because I haven't seen other teams taking liberties with him. First of all, he's too fast to really hit him solid. But at the same time, give me a guy who can score. And I don't know how many goals they're gonna that person is gonna get in for the rest of the season, but the Islanders need a playoff threat, and they're like I said, they've done a great job of turning themselves into a defensive oriented team.
Yep,
and they just had another shutout again on Saturday. Our boy Robin Leonard, I pronounce it Leonard.
I do too.
36 saves. They shut out Vancouver 4-0. They need a scorer, and Lou Lamoriello has kind of been operating under the radar this season. He hired Barry Trotz, and that was really pretty much the last thing he did. Lou's got to be working the phones because the deadline is at 3:00. We have 5 hours and 15 minutes until the deadline.
Yep,
Lou, get on it. Start making those phone calls. I want to hear deal. I want to hear that the Islanders are bringing in a scoring winger. I'm not looking for for Ovechkin or somebody. That's crazy. But if Ho-Sang can be dealt, then see what you can get. Don't mortgage the future because the Islanders are a work in progress. They still have younger players in the system that in a year or two will be making the two first round picks that they had in this last draft. Those guys will be productive in a couple of years.
Yep.
So don't sell the farm for 1 year. Know that you have a plan in place and what has happened this year is something to build on. But at the same time, don't just settle for, hey, we got first place in the Metropolitan Division and we're going to get knocked out in the first round. This team is more than capable of making some kind of a run in the playoffs. I still don't think that they're better than Tampa, and I think Tampa Bay. I think the Lightning.
Though they've beaten Tampa,
they have, of course.
So
but
that's
I think Tampa Bay. I think is the best team in the East, and I think they'll go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Think about what an accomplishment it would be if the Islanders just made the Eastern Conference Final.
I think that'd be
phenomenal.
I'd be happy with it, but this team has been pretty good this year in a different way, so unexpected. And I really think they could get to the Stanley Cup finals, I should say. By the way, we should say John Tavares comes to town this Thursday.
That's going to be a boo fest.
Oh, it's going to be a boo fest. We'll see what happens with that.
Are you going to go to that game, brother?
No, I'm working, actually. I can't.
Oh, bummer.
So I would like to. I'm going to watch the game, but, there's a lot of people with their Tavares shirts that says loser on the back of it. But I feel bad because it says 91, and I'm thinking Butch Goring. Don't call him a loser.
Butchie.
Butchie's
awesome. I love Butchie.
I like him as an announcer.
Well, look at this, brother.
What?
All right, I'm going to cut you off here because we got breaking news.
Uh-oh, breaking news.
It just broke 10 minutes ago. Something actually broke during the show.
That never happens.
This is so awesome.
That never happens.
The New York Yankees.
Oh, God, what'd they do?
And center fielder Aaron Hicks have reached an agreement on a 7-year, $70 million extension. That's a surprise.
Why?
It's a stunning surprise, actually, because the Yankees have a couple of outfielders in the system. Now Aaron Hicks is a Yankee for 7 years. Joe Gorman tipped me off on this one, so good job, Joe Gorman.
Is that something that's going to prevent the Yankees from winning?
Or
make them better?
I'll tell you what, it's another good contract for the Yankees because Aaron Hicks probably has played better than $10 million a year. But now he's your center fielder for the next 7 years. So what do the Yankees do with, Clint Frazier will probably be the left fielder after next year because Gardy will probably retire after this year. But the Yankees have a minor leaguer in the system by the name of Estevan Florial. And anybody who watched the game on the exhibition game against the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday saw Estevan Florial single, steal a couple of bases, and show the kind of tools that he has that are what people have him tabbed as the Yankees' top prospect and a 5-tool kind of guy. So that is somebody who I think people in the Yankees, fans of the Yankees, and people who follow the minor leagues thought that, all right, this is a guy who's going to be up in about 3 years, and they already have him pegged as the next Bernie Williams. and that's not faint praise. I mean, Bernie Williams was a great Yankee for a lot of years. So if Aaron Hicks is now your center fielder for the next 7 years, where does Florial go? Because, like I said, if Frazier's in left field, now you have Hicks in center, and Aaron Judge isn't going anywhere. I can tell you that right now.
No, he's not.
I'm sure they would love Aaron Judge to sign one of these 7-year, $70 million deals.
He's going to make a little more than that, I think.
But that's why it's a surprise to me because and remember, Aaron Hicks. Oh, I'm trying to remember who they trade him for. Some catcher to the Twins, some backup catcher. I mean, it was another just absolute steal by Brian Cashman. But Hicks has turned into an outstanding player for the Yankees.
We should say a couple of things, brother. First of all, Jacob deGrom made his first start of the spring, and 97 on the radar gun. I think he might be...
He's ready.
He's ready.
He's ready. Just needed to do one start.
Manny Machado, 10 years, $300 million with San Diego, of all teams.
It's not a bad landing place for him, and the reasons are twofold. Number one, there's only one other big contract on the books in San Diego, and that's first baseman Eric Hosmer.
Right.
The Padres also have, I'm not even going to say what people consider, they have the best farm system in Major League Baseball. They have Fernando Tatis Jr., who is regarded as the second best prospect in all of baseball, only second to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. There's a lot of juniors coming up soon. But Tatis is supposed to be phenomenal. He is their shortstop of the future. Machado is going to play third base. They also have a second baseman who's almost ready by the name of Luis Urias. So their infield, after next year, their infield is basically set for the next 5 years. Because all four of those guys are going to be playing in the infield.
Will they be good in the NL West? That's the question.
Well, it's all going to depend. Here's the thing with the Padres. They could mirror the Mets in that within 2 to 3 years, their entire rotation could be homegrown.
Okay.
They have 6 starting pitchers in the MLB.com top 100 prospects list. 6. And they have another guy, Cal Quantrill, who is the son of a former pitcher, Paul Quantrill, who is probably at like 103. So that's 7 starters right around the top, either in the top 100 or right on the cusp of it. You have to assume that at least 3 of those guys are going to live up to the billing.
Right. Okay.
And even if 2 of the other 4 just kind of live up, if 2 of the other 4 become Steven Matz, all right, let's put it that way.
That's not bad.
You got a pretty good rotation,
right?
That for those 4 years isn't going to cost you anything. Remember the windows that we were talking about with the Mets when all these pitchers weren't making anything? Yeah. Well, now DeGrom's making $17 million this year. Syndergaard, I think, what did he get, $7 million or whatever in arbitration? Yeah. And Wheeler is 1 year away from free agency. Had a phenomenal year last year. Finally, Matz is the guy who has to kind of push himself and make that next jump.
Yep.
And stay healthy, among other things. But that. The Padres could be very much in that situation. Within 3 years, the Padres should be a contender in the National League
plus,
West,
let's
and
be
for the
honest,
National League.
San Diego is a beautiful town, so
it is. I mean, it's a great city.
And we'll see what happens with Bryce Harper. He still hasn't signed. Second week of training camp is now going on. Sooner or later, he's got to sign.
Everybody still thinks Phillies, but are the Phillies bidding against themselves at this point? I don't know who else is in. Because with Machado, apparently this was the stupid thing. The Chicago White Sox apparently offered him a contract that was 8 years for $250 million,
right?
Which is actually a slightly higher average annual value than what he took from the Padres. They also had incentives in it that could have boosted it up to 10 years for $350 million.
Right.
They didn't want to guarantee the years. And they wanted the incentives to kick in the last 2 years of the contract,
which is smart.
So they kind of wanted him to earn the money, quote unquote. So they wouldn't go to the 300. But if the incentives would have kicked in, they would have gone to 350. So I don't understand why you just don't give the guy the money that he's looking for. Manning apparently wanted $300 million. I think that was the magic number, and whichever team said $300 million first was going to get him, and the Padres said it first.
By the way, brother, just to let you know, Full Irish every Saturday at 11 a.m. This program provides Irish music and news of interest to the Irish-American community, hosted by Gary Power. That's Full Irish every Saturday at 11 p.m. right here on WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Quickly, brother, Liverpool. What's going on with my buddies?
What's going on with Liverpool, brother? You really want to know?
League?
Bottling. That's what's going on. I want my man Bevan to watch this.
Is bottling?
Bottling.
Is that when you drink a lot of beer at the game?
No, that's not what happens.
Oh, okay.
Bottling is when you choke away a title, a standing, and right now that is what your Liverpool is doing because they are bottling the title.
Okay.
And unfortunately, too many supporters of other teams like to use that word for my Tottenham Hotspur. But Tottenham right now is in third place. They're not bottling anything.
Oh, okay.
So even though they did lose on Saturday, which was a disappointing loss, but they're still in third place. All right. Liverpool could have gone into first place, or actually could have controlled first place a little bit more. But they wound up with a 0-0 draw against Manchester United. Another very uninspiring performance from Liverpool, and especially Mo Salah, who was supposed to be the savior, who hasn't done much in the last couple of months. The draw, the 1 point, has Liverpool in first place at 66 points, Manchester City right behind them at 65, and like I said, my Spurs are in third at 60. Spurs with a massive week ahead, brother. They have Chelsea, stumbling Chelsea. Chelsea is a disaster right now. I'll tell you about them in a minute. But that match is on Wednesday. That's on the road. And then Arsenal comes to Wembley for a big North London derby on Saturday. Spurs need 2 wins. They have to. Otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, the season's over, or any chances of a title is over. Unless they get the 6 points out of that.
By the way, brother, you're going to be on that soccer show again?
I don't know. I'm waiting.
For
waiting
those
for
who
the
don't
phone
know,
call.
that Timmy made a special appearance.
2 special appearances.
Well, 2 special appearances, or special appearance twice
on the Thing I Love Most show.
Yes, which is
available, still available on YouTube.
Which is a Tottenham Hotspur podcast,
Yes.
or actually it's a video cast because you wrote video.
That too, but. Here's the thing. Spurs lose to Burnley on Saturday 2-1, thanks very much in part to a poor call that gave Burnley a corner kick that they later scored on.
Okay.
So basically screwed us out of a goal. Pochettino, the manager, after the game, talking to Mike Dean, the referee. He was going to the dressing room, Poch, and then Mike Dean said something to him and instigated this event, and Poch got in his face, gave him what they call the hairdryer treatment. He was Poch has never been that mad. Now they're saying that the FA is going to suspend him. Why aren't they going to suspend the referee? He's the guy that instigated it. Why is
he's the referee?
Why is the referee blameless in this? No, Major League Baseball does that. When umpires are the ones that instigate arguments with managers, umpires get disciplined.
I've never heard of them.
We don't hear about it, but it happens because umpires are supposed to be nameless, faceless people. So anyway, I disagree if he is suspended. If he is, and it happens this week, that's going to be a real problem. Now, speaking of angry managers, Chelsea's Maurizio Sarri went bonkers after his goalkeeper refused to come off the pitch. He wanted to substitute him for penalty kicks in the Carabao Cup final on Sunday. Goalie waved him off. Said, forget it. I'm not coming off. I'm not hurt. Sarri thought he had a cramp or something. Wanted to replace it. Goalie said, no. Just kept waving him off. Said, no, I'm not coming off.
That's it. Well, that's it. Anyway, Big Ed's coming up next, brother. I have a new song for Big Ed. Big Ed is on your radio, playing those oldies that you love. And that's it. That's all I got.
Big Ed, how's your footwear? Is it better than Zion Williamson's?
Definitely, especially since I had my toe operated on last week. I'm in much better shape.
Well, Zion's got a bad knee.
You're falling apart, Big Ed.
I am falling apart.
Your teeth. You have to get your teeth fixed, and your toe. You banged your toe on something. And
Who would have known it would cost $5,000 to get your teeth fixed?
Yeah, I mean,
Zion Williamson will cost more than $5,000.
Anyway, Big Ed's coming up next with Good Gold. My name is Rob Leonard, and he is, of course,
Tim Leonard.
And, of course, he's at Twitter at
Real Tim Leonard.
And stay tuned to WHPC for more sports talk. And coming up next is Good Gold with Big Ed, and then the Retro Mix. So 4 hours straight of oldies music. Keep it tuned here to WHPC. I'll see you Friday with Beatles songs. We'll see you in 167 hours with more from the Press Box. Take care, and bye-bye.
The views expressed on air are not necessarily those of WHPC, its management, or Nassau Community College. Responsible opposing viewpoints will be considered by emailing them to whpc@ncc.edu or by mail at WHPC 1 Education Drive, Garden City, New York 11530. Thanks for listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.